journey, the navigation system alarms sound loudly. You emerge from your hypersleep chamber and realize you have finally arrived. You take the manual controls, cross the dense atmosphere, and land your ship on the surface of planet 404. An absolutely perfect landing. Upon exiting the ship, you proceed to collect the biological and geological samples in accordance with your mission protocol. Once you successfully store the materials, you move on to the most interesting phase, infiltrating the dominant species of this world. According to intelligence reports, these beings have a rather pathetic appearance, possess a strange layer of hair on top of their heads, walk unsteadily on two limbs, and most ridiculous of all, they always have a rectangular technological device glued to their hands that they never take their eyes off. It does not take you long to find a solitary specimen that fits this description perfectly. You quietly approach and proceed to parasitize its nervous system to steal its body. The poor guy does not stand a ghost of a chance against a superior predator like you. Its consciousness shuts down, and you take absolute control of its anatomy. Now you have the perfect meat suit to begin executing your mission. Upon analyzing the memory banks of your new meat vehicle, you discover that his main occupation in this society is being a lookout for a local drug cartel. Basically, his job consists of standing on a corner for hours, watching other humans move as if he were a simple statue. It seems like a primitive and absurd activity to you, but to successfully infiltrate, you decide to wrap up this specimen's unfinished business. Following his routines, you walk until you reach a small and miserable house built with rusty sheet metal. Upon entering, a man with his skin covered in strange ink drawings stares at you and calls you Lookout Number 5. In an aggressive tone, he informs you that today you let a police convoy pass by without giving warning, causing several of his dealers to end up arrested. He explains to you that under normal circumstances, a mistake of that magnitude is paid for by being cut into small pieces to sleep with the fishes. However, as a sign of respect for your years of loyalty to the gang, he has decided to be merciful and charge you only one finger to jog your memory. While your superior intellect tries to process and translate the threats of this monkey with color-stained skin, one of his goons grabs your hand with brute force and pulls out a sharp knife. With a quick slice, your pinky finger falls to the dirty floor. Officially, you can now only count up to 9. But here something happens that completely shatters the criminal leader's expectations. Unlike a normal human, there is no screaming, there are no tears of terror, and there is not a single ounce of pain on your face. Your alien nervous system easily blocks the human's fragile pain receptors. You stay standing there stone cold, looking at the piece of meat on the floor as if it belonged to someone else. Impressed by your impassive attitude, the leader bursts into a deafening laugh. His face fills with a twisted satisfaction, and he tells you that you have the cold blood necessary to be a real hitman. Immediately, he proposes promoting you and having you join his squad as a rookie assassin. In your brilliant mind, you feel totally confused. You cannot comprehend why this primate went from being furious to being euphoric with happiness just for having destroyed a small piece of your biological puppet. Finally, you come to the conclusion that this friendly mutilation must be a strange and savage cultural initiation rite of his species. And since a good explorer cannot refuse the hospitality of the natives, you nod your head and calmly accept joining their ranks. Upon receiving your confirmation, the leader smiles with satisfaction. Before leaving, he throws you with disdain a wad of those small pieces of green paper that they worship like a deity in this primitive society, which they simply call money. He strictly orders you to take that cellulose trash and go to a hospital to get your mutilated hand repaired, demanding also that you return to this exact same place tomorrow afternoon, since someone will swing by to pick you up to start your new life. Once the boss and his goons disappear through the door, you are left alone in that rusty structure. With absolute calmness, you bend down and pick up your amputated finger from the floor. You blow on it a little to remove the dust and dirt, and then you align it exactly on the stump of your hand. Using only a basic fraction of your regenerative biological energy, the cells, tissues, and nerves reconnect instantly, fusing the flesh to perfection. Your limb is whole and flawless once again, as if the knife had never touched it. You pick up the bills scattered on the floor and make your way to the dwelling that belongs to your human vehicle. Upon arriving at that small concrete box, your avatar's biological sensors begin to emit warning signals in your system. You immediately understand that the fuel levels of this meat machine are dropping drastically, and it is time to recharge energy. You quickly consult your planetary survival manual and confirm the primitive process of this world. These beings nourish themselves by introducing dead organic matter through an orifice located on the front part of their head, which they call a mouth. You comply with this tedious biological ritual by grinding and swallowing whatever you find available. Once the body is stabilized, and in a state of rest, you temporarily decouple your consciousness from this fragile flesh prison and proceed to send your first progress report to the central intelligence of the mother planet. The next day, you return to the miserable shack. A man dressed in a military uniform is waiting for you. He orders you to get into a pickup truck, and you both head toward a secret training camp. Upon arriving, you begin your tactical preparation. With your superior alien capabilities, you complete every weapons and combat test with astonishing ease. Your speed of learning and execution is unparalleled. Impressed by your almost magical performance, they immediately accept you into the Cartel's elite hit squad. After spending an entire month executing assassination missions and observing humanity in its most savage state, you manage to deduce 3 absolute truths about this species. First, these creatures are willing to massacre each other just to accumulate those meaningless pieces of paper, printed with the faces of dead presidents. Second, besides eating sugar through their mouths, they also like to eat nose candy, and humans love it. And the third truth is that you finally manage to understand humanity's obsession with that glowing rectangle called a phone. That little device contains their entire existence, especially a digital abyss called social media. At first, you felt a deep disgust seeing the ridiculous and humiliating things humans do in front of the lens. But being totally honest after observing them for a while, you have to admit that it turns out to be quite interesting. Your data exploration advances smoothly. You have experienced human wonders, such as consuming poisonous ethanol to cause temporary neurological failures, something they call getting wasted, or paying other humans to fake affection in dark rooms. But just when you think you have seen it all, humanity serves you its most exquisite dish betrayal. The cartel you have infiltrated suffers a sudden internal fracture. Alliances break out of pure greed, and a bloody civil war erupts that you are inevitably dragged into. One night, while conversing with your roommate and pretending to have emotions, the wooden door is blown to pieces. A squad of rogue hitmen enters, kicking through the rubble and firing their automatic weapons wildly. With your alien reflexes operating in milliseconds, you grab your fragile companion by the neck and throw him behind a thick concrete wall just in time. Then you decide to teach them a lesson in biological superiority. You emerge from your hiding spot, moving at a speed that human eyes can barely process. You dodge the bursts of bullets by calculating their geometric trajectories in real time. With surgical precision, you raise your weapon. One shot, one perforated skull. In exactly 14 seconds, 12 bodies fall to the floor, in a synchronized manner painting the walls red. Thick gunpowder smoke floods the room. Your companion slowly comes out of his hiding spot, trembling like a wounded animal. His eyes are wide open, observing the massacre on the floor, and then looking at you. You do not have a single scratch, and your breathing is completely normal. With a voice broken by panic, he asks you how the hell you could survive a hail of bullets and wipe out an entire tactical team, all by yourself without getting a single cut. You maintain your absolutely cold expression and answer him completely naturally that you simply put into practice everything they taught you guys at boot camp. Such an absurd response leaves your companion in a state of mental paralysis, seriously wondering if he was slacking off too much during classes or if the cartel's educational program had changed drastically. Without wasting time on his human existential crises, you order him to move forward. You lead the way, carving a path of blood through the hallways full of enemies until you reach a vehicle to escape the ambush. You and your fragile companion have escaped the pursuit and reached the deserted roads on the outskirts. He looks at you with tired eyes and asks what you think about taking this opportunity to escape for good. He is absolutely sick and tired of facing death and violence every day. Just as you are preparing to answer, the vehicle violently explodes into thousands of pieces. You have fallen into a trap. The rogue hitmen approach with triumphant smiles, but suddenly freeze in pure terror. From the burning flames, a silhouette emerges, slowly crawling out. The shockwave has destroyed half of your face, both arms, and left your charred internal organs exposed. But before the astonished eyes of the mercenaries, the dead flesh falls off, and new muscles, nerves, and skin regenerate at a terrifying visible speed. Without giving them even a second to think, you pounce on the nearest shooter and snatch his weapon. You begin to massacre the rest of them. Their bullets continuously pierce your chest and head, but all that damage is nothing compared to your astonishing capacity for biological regeneration. You shoot and finish off the last man, while he looks at you in a state of absolute panic. With absolute calmness, you take clean clothes from a corpse, get into one of their pickup trucks, and drive toward the nearest sign of life. Clearly, this criminal identity is blown. If you continue using this body, you will only attract unnecessary heat to your mission. It is time to find a new cover. You enter an isolated house. Your new host is a frail old man, abandoned by his family to wait for death. You take control right away, but you have no intention of using this identity for very long. You have already collected enough low-level intelligence, and now you need a higher status to access the true secrets of this species. The most powerful individual on your radar is the Cartel's kingpin. You head to his fortified mansion. With your skills, you easily slip past dozens of armed guards and infiltrate the luxurious bedroom of the drug lord. Just as you prepare to parasitize his brain, the leader wakes up out of pure survival instinct and rolls across the bed. He pulls out a gun and empties his clip at you. Of course, those primitive bullets have absolutely no effect. You approach stone cold, ignoring the wounds in the old man's chest, and you easily subdue the boss. You begin to possess his body. However, in an act of extreme desperation, the leader grabs a syringe containing concentrated fentanyl from his nightstand and jams it into your neck. To your horror, this human chemical trash violently attacks your superior nervous system. Your vision blurs, you feel intensely dizzy, and you fall heavily to the floor. The guards burst in, drawn by the gunshots. The boss, still trembling, orders them to chain you up tightly. Upon witnessing how your fatal wounds heal in seconds, his face lights up with a sick greed. He just hit the jackpot, an immortal creature. You slowly wake up in a cold laboratory. You realize that you are tightly bound to a surgical table with thick, heavy-duty steel chains. The Cartel's scientists are performing cruel experiments on your body, cutting and burning your flesh. From a safe distance, the Cartel leader watches with absolute fascination and a greedy smile as your tissues regenerate at an impossible speed. But these pathetic primates have underestimated your true capabilities. That primitive metal is not enough to hold a creature of your caliber. With just one powerful flex of your muscles, you break the chains into hundreds of pieces and stand up to fight back. Hearing the noise, dozens of heavily armed hitmen burst into the room to try to subdue you. You move at a terrifying speed, breaking bones, crushing skulls, and destroying bodies as easily as a human steps on a bug. Their bullets pierce your body, but the wounds heal before the blood hits the floor. In less than 2 minutes, the laboratory has turned into a slaughterhouse. You walk slowly toward the Cartel leader. Trembling with terror, he pulls out a special weapon designed to shoot darts loaded with concentrated fentanyl and pulls the trigger repeatedly. But this time, you are alert. You dodge every poisonous dart with perfect movements. To avoid any other nasty surprises, you grab a gun from the floor and shoot him directly in the arms and legs. The leader falls to the floor, screaming in agony. But right in that moment of victory, something inexplicable happens. A strange and violent sensation begins to burn your nervous system. Suddenly, your alien brain feels an overwhelming urge to experience that chemical lethargy. Again, the same distortion you felt with the previous injection. The craving becomes more intense by the second. You grab him by the neck and demand that he explain this biological failure. Despite suffering extreme physical pain, a savage smile appears on the leader's face. He knows exactly what is happening to you. You have gotten hooked on fentanyl. In his twisted mind, he rejoices at this discovery. He knows this is a golden ticket. If he can control your supply, he will be able to enslave an immortal god, and with that power, the entire world will have to bow down to him. The leader spitting blood begins to explain his master plan to you. He assures you that only he has the knowledge and the resources to help you experience that divine sensation once again. He promises you that if you agree to submit and obey his orders, he will give you unlimited access to that chemical substance. He even claims that he can offer you a much more intense dose. Despite having his body destroyed and